If I told you that one single change, just one, could add a decade to your life, would you believe it? Most people won't. Most people hear promises of longevity and assume it's hype, marketing, or a miracle pill that doesn't exist. But today, you're about to hear something that isn't theory, isn't wishful thinking, and isn't another trend floating through the health world. This is science, cold, undeniable, repeatable science, revealing a change so simple, so shockingly accessible that researchers themselves are stunned by the numbers. A change that rewires how your cells age, a change that flips your metabolic future from decline to repair, a change that doesn't require money, genetics, or luck, only awareness. Millions are walking past this truth every single day, unaware that they're leaving years, literal years on the table. And if you're hearing this, you're moments away from learning what they never will. Because when you understand this one shift, you don't just gain knowledge, you gain time. And time is the greatest form of wealth you will ever own. There is a moment in every person's life when the truth hits them harder than any diagnosis, any warning, any statistic. It's the moment they realize time is not something they lose all at once. It slips away quietly, silently through the choices they make every single day. And yet, buried beneath the noise of modern life, there exists one change so powerful, so profoundly simple, that it has the potential to return years that most people assume are already lost. Imagine waking up and knowing that a decade, 10 full years of memories, opportunities, seconds, breaths, could be added to your life, not by chance, not by genetics, but by a decision you control. People hear claims like this and dismiss them as exaggeration, but what they don't understand is that biology does not react to beliefs, it reacts to behavior. And when you shift one core behavior, you shift the trajectory of your entire lifespan. Think about how many people wake up every morning repeating the same patterns without ever questioning what those patterns are costing them. They eat in cycles that exhaust their cells. They live in environments that inflame their tissues. They push their bodies into states of stress that age them far faster than the number on their birth certificate. And all of this happens because no one ever told them that one adjustment, just one, could change everything. Not because it's magical, but because it aligns your body with the rules it was designed to follow. It's tragic how many days are wasted thinking longevity comes from expensive supplements or complicated routines, when the truth is far more grounded. It comes from understanding what accelerates decay and what slows it. It comes from recognizing that your body is constantly negotiating between survival and repair, between inflammation and healing, between breakdown and renewal. And this change acts like a signal, telling your cells to shift direction and favor the side that keeps you alive longer. The power behind this lies in how the body responds when certain pressures are removed and certain patterns are restored. The moment this change takes place, inflammation, which silently steals years from millions, begins to drop. Energy production becomes more efficient. Cellular waste, the debris that clogs aging tissues, starts clearing out. Every organ responds. Every system recalibrates. This is not something subtle or theoretical. It is the kind of shift that can be measured in blood work, in mitochondrial activity, in markers that scientists use to determine biological age. When people finally understand this, when they see how quickly the body can respond once it's given the right environment, the question shifts from, can I really add 10 years? To, why didn't I know this sooner? What makes this change so extraordinary is not just the science behind it, but the simplicity. It doesn't require a complete reinvention of your life. It doesn't demand perfection. It only asks for a correction in the direction your body is already trying to move. Modern life pushes us toward choices that accelerate aging, but this counters that push and allows your biology to realign with its natural rhythm. The body is always attempting to repair itself. It's always fighting for you. It never stops trying to extend your life, even when you make choices that shorten it. And this shift gives your body the support it has been begging for, often for years without you realizing it. People underestimate how forgiving the body is. They underestimate how quickly repair can happen once the obstacles are removed. But the truth is, the moment you make this shift, your body responds like someone who has finally been heard. The healing begins immediately. The most surprising part is that the benefits are not just long-term. They start within days, some within hours. Energy improves first because your cells suddenly aren't fighting uphill. Clarity improves because your brain is less inflamed. Digestion smooths out, sleep deepens, cravings fade, and for the first time in years, people feel a sense of alignment within their bodies that they forgot was possible. And that feeling is not a placebo, it is physiology, it is biology returning to balance. It is the early whisper of the decade you could gain if you stay consistent. Most people don't realize how aging really works. They think it's linear, automatic, predetermined. But aging is heavily influenced by environment and behavior. The body does not age evenly, it ages faster when overwhelmed and slower when supported. When this shift happens, the rate of decline slows dramatically. You are not just adding years, you are adding quality, strength, and resilience to those years. And yet, millions never experience this because they underestimate small changes. They think longevity comes from extraordinary actions, when in reality, it comes from understanding the fundamental levers that control cellular destiny. This single change pulls one of the biggest levers your biology has. It switches your body from constantly battling hidden stressors to actively building a longer future. It gives you the chance to age with intention, not accident. And once that begins, you can feel it in every part of your life, your energy, your mood, your focus, your confidence. You begin to realize that longevity isn't reserved for the lucky. It's available to anyone willing to shift one habit, one pattern, one choice that rewrites the next decade of their life. When people first hear that scientific evidence supports the idea that a single lifestyle shift can extend life by years, they assume the research must be fringe or exaggerated. But the truth is far more compelling. The evidence is not found in vague wellness claims or motivational stories. It is rooted in controlled trials, long-term observational data, metabolic studies, and the kind of cellular research that reveals what the body is really doing beneath the surface. Scientists didn't set out looking for a miracle, yet the data kept pointing to the same conclusion. The moment certain behaviors change, the markers that predict longevity begin to shift in astonishing ways. And these aren't soft markers like feeling better, though that does happen. These are hard biomarkers: CRP levels, fasting insulin, mitochondrial density, telomere length signals, oxidative stress indicators. Numbers don't bend to opinion. They only respond to what the body is experiencing. And the moment this change is made, those numbers begin to move in the direction that predicts a longer life. What shocks researchers is not that the body can heal, this is well understood, but how quickly it begins to respond when the right conditions are set. Within weeks, inflammation drops. Within days, metabolic flexibility begins to improve. Some signals shift within hours, long before a person can fully comprehend what their cells are doing behind the scenes. This is why scientists call it a biological cascade. One change triggers the second triggers a third. Soon the entire system begins recalculating, recalibrating, restoring balance. It's not one effect, it's dozens happening together. And when multiple processes begin healing at once, the impact on long-term health is dramatic. You can imagine it like a car that's been driven with the wrong alignment for years. The tires wear unevenly, the suspension strains, the fuel efficiency drops, and the driver assumes the car is simply getting old. But the moment the alignment is corrected, every part begins functioning more efficiently. Not because the car changed, but because the conditions changed. The body behaves the same way. When the daily rhythm shifts, everything from hormone regulation to immune signaling to cellular repair becomes more efficient. The science behind this is not mysterious. It is simply the body's natural drive toward equilibrium finally being allowed to work. When researchers follow individuals who adopt this change, they see patterns that repeat consistently. Risk factors for major diseases begin to fall. Arteries become more flexible, blood sugar stabilizes, fat oxidation improves, inflammation, one of the strongest predictors of early death, weakens. The immune system, once burdened by constant metabolic stress, regains its strength and precision. And the part that scientists continue to emphasize is this: aging is not just the passing of time. Aging is largely the accumulation of cellular damage. Reduce the damage and you slow the aging. Support the repair and you extend life. People often underestimate how interconnected the body systems are. They think of heart health separately from brain health, gut health separately from immune strength, metabolism separately from longevity. But the deeper you look, the more you realize these systems share the same underlying signals, the same nutrients, the same biochemical pathways. Change one input, especially a major input, and you influence multiple systems at once. This is why the data seems so dramatic. It's not because the change is extreme, but because the body's response is. The body has been waiting, sometimes for decades, for a correction. When it arrives, the internal landscape shifts almost immediately. One of the most profound findings researchers point to is the impact on DNA repair mechanisms. These mechanisms determine how efficiently the body can fix the inevitable damage that comes from living. When they slow down, aging accelerates. When they strengthen, aging slows. And this change activates those repair systems with impressive consistency. The cells become better at maintaining themselves. The body becomes more capable of resisting mutations. The internal environment becomes less chaotic and more controlled. It's like adding years of resilience, not just years of life. Another element that repeatedly appears in the research is the effect on insulin sensitivity. Insulin resistance is not just a metabolic issue, it is a longevity issue. It influences inflammation, blood flow, hormone balance, fat storage, cognitive decline, and immune response. When insulin sensitivity improves, entire pathways of disease risk begin to unravel. Scientists see this improvement as one of the clearest signs that a person has shifted from an aging, accelerating state to an aging protective one. And this shift begins almost immediately when the change is made. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the research is not the numbers, but the consistency of the numbers. Different populations, different ages, different lifestyles, yet the biological benefits appear again and again. It shows that the body is not unpredictable. It follows rules, patterns, principles. And when you align your daily life with those principles, the outcome is not random, it is expected. Longevity is not luck, it is biology responding to the right environment. People spend years searching for complicated answers to long life, supplements, routines, treatments, trends. But the more science advances, the more it points back to foundational behavior. One change, one correction, one shift that unlocks the body's ability to protect itself, heal itself, and sustain itself far longer than people realize. And when you see the data, when you understand how quickly the body begins to respond, you recognize that the question is not whether this change can add years to your life, but whether you are willing to make the shift that your future self is desperately hoping you will make right now. When you begin to understand what truly happens inside the body when this single change is made, everything you thought you knew about health starts to shift. Most people see the body only from the outside, the way it feels, the way it looks, the symptoms it sends when something is wrong. But beneath the skin, there is an intricate electrical and biochemical network working every second to keep you alive. And when this one adjustment is introduced, you don't just feel different, you function differently at the most fundamental level. The body isn't reacting randomly, it's recalibrating systems that have been overwhelmed for years. It begins with metabolism because metabolism is not simply about burning calories. It is the language your cells use to communicate. It controls how you produce energy, how fast you age, how cleanly your cells operate, and how efficiently your organs work together. Imagine every cell in your body as a tiny engine. Some engines are clean and efficient, producing power with almost no waste, while others struggle burning fuel chaotically and producing toxins that age the body from within. This change shifts your cells from the second state to the first. It stabilizes the fuel supply, allowing your cells to operate smoothly instead of constantly fighting metabolic turbulence. When this happens, the stress signals that trigger premature aging begin to fall silent. Your mitochondria, the powerhouses inside each cell, stop running in emergency mode and start generating energy with precision. This is why so many people report clearer thinking, steadier energy, calmer moods, and sharper focus after making this shift. Their brain is receiving a more stable, cleaner energy source. Their neurons are no longer drowning in the noise of inflammation and metabolic chaos. Deep inside your cells, something even more profound occurs. A genetic switch flips. Longevity pathways that were dormant begin turning on. These pathways are responsible for repairing damage, removing faulty cells, maintaining the integrity of DNA, and protecting your body from the gradual breakdown that defines aging. When these pathways activate, your cells begin to behave younger. Not metaphorically, biologically, they clean themselves more thoroughly. They repair themselves more efficiently. They communicate more clearly with neighboring cells. And this isn't something you feel immediately, but it is something that changes the direction of your lifespan. You stop moving toward decline and begin moving toward renewal. One of the most powerful mechanisms affected by this change is something scientists refer to as cellular housekeeping. Over time, your cells collect debris, broken proteins, damaged fragments, oxidative waste. When too much accumulates, your tissues stiffen, your organs slow down, and your risk for disease increases dramatically. But when this shift occurs, cleanup processes accelerate. Your body begins clearing out the old to make room for the new. This is the foundation of longevity. A body that can repair itself quickly ages slowly. A body that accumulates damage ages rapidly. And this one adjustment pushes you firmly into the first category. Another transformation happens within your hormones. Modern life places tremendous pressure on the hormones that regulate hunger, stress, sleep, energy, and blood sugar. When these hormones are thrown out of balance, the body becomes reactive, inflamed, and exhausted. But when this shift takes place, these hormones settle into their natural rhythm. Stress hormones decline, hunger signals normalize, growth and repair hormones rise, and the body begins functioning in a way that feels instinctively right, as if something long forgotten has returned. People often describe it as a sense of internal alignment, a feeling that their body is finally cooperating with them instead of fighting against them. What's equally striking is how the immune system responds. When metabolic stress decreases, the immune system stops wasting energy on unnecessary battles and starts focusing on true threats. This strengthens your defenses against illness, but it also reduces the risk of the immune overreactions that contribute to chronic disease. Your body becomes more accurate, more intelligent, more efficient. It begins to distinguish clearly between what is harmful and what is not, something it struggles to do when overwhelmed by constant metabolic disruption. Circulation improves, inflammation cools, organs breathe easier, tissues begin receiving nutrients more effectively. Even your skin changes because skin is a mirror of internal balance. When cells repair themselves more efficiently, oxidative stress decreases and the nutrients that feed your skin reach their destination more easily. You begin to look healthier because biologically you are healthier, but perhaps the most compelling aspect is the speed at which these changes ripple through the body. You would expect such benefits to take months, even years to appear. But the body responds quickly to alignment. It is always seeking equilibrium. When you give it the environment it has been designed to thrive in, the shift is almost immediate. You may not feel every change, but the biology is undeniable. Metabolic pathways recalibrate. Hormonal rhythms stabilize. Cellular repair accelerates. Inflammation declines. And with each shift, your biological age begins to drift away from your chronological age. Most people don't realize how deeply their daily habits shape the destiny of their cells. They believe aging is a slow, unstoppable march, but aging is heavily influenced by the choices you make and the environment you create within your body. This one change interrupts years of internal stress and gives your cells the space they need to restore themselves. It is not dramatic. It is not extreme. It is simply a realignment with biological truth. And once that realignment begins, the trajectory of your life, your energy, your health, your long-term resilience changes in ways that compound year after year, silently expanding the length and quality of the life you are moving toward. When you begin looking at daily habits through the lens of biology instead of routine, something remarkable happens. The familiar becomes powerful, the ordinary becomes transformative. And nowhere is this more evident than in the concept of energy management inside the human body. Most people think fatigue is simply a lack of sleep or a busy day, but the truth runs far deeper. Fatigue is often a cellular signal, a whisper from the mitochondria, the tiny engines humming inside every one of your cells. These microscopic engines decide how vigorously you age, how strongly you heal, and how long you stay vibrant. And the most fascinating part is that the way you fuel them can dramatically extend the quality and length of your life. There's a quiet shift that occurs when you realize your energy is not just about mood or productivity, it is about cellular resilience. Every morning your cells awaken with you, faced with a question, should they repair or should they decline? The answer is shaped by the molecules you feed them, the toxins you avoid, the stress you release, and the rhythms you honor. Among these factors, one stands above the rest: how efficiently your mitochondria burn fuel. When they burn cleanly, inflammation lowers, genetic damage declines, and your biological age slows. When they burn poorly, the opposite takes root, oxidative stress rises, chronic fatigue creeps in, and the body's self-repair systems weaken.
What influences this?
Surprisingly, it is not extreme diets, intense workouts, or complicated protocols. It begins with a single foundational shift, training your body to rely less on unstable glucose spikes and more on stable, long-burning metabolic fuel. Imagine fueling a fire with thin paper. It burns bright for a moment but leaves you cold right after. This is what happens when your body depends heavily on sugar peaks for energy. Now imagine fueling that same fire with a dense, clean piece of wood. It burns slow, steady, reliable. This is the difference between chaotic energy and sustainable energy. When you adopt habits that gently teach your cells to burn cleaner fuel, everything downstream changes. Inflammation shrinks, DNA repair increases, immune function becomes sharper, and brain clarity rises. One of the most profound shifts in this process is stabilizing blood sugar, not through deprivation, but through strategy. When your glucose stabilizes, your mitochondria stop panicking, your hormones stop swinging wildly, and your blood vessels begin healing instead of fighting damage. A stable metabolic environment is like giving your cells a calm, quiet workshop where they can repair themselves. When the environment becomes turbulent, sugar spikes, stress hormones, inflammatory triggers, your cells work in emergency mode. No one can thrive in emergency mode, not even biology. This is why one simple change can genuinely add years to your life, lowering your body's exposure to metabolic chaos. The science now shows that a stable metabolic state reduces the risk of chronic diseases, slows neurodegeneration, and protects your DNA from oxidative damage. But beyond statistics, it gives you another gift: more good days. Days where your mind is steady, your mood is balanced, your energy is predictable. Days where life feels less like something you must push through and more like something you can fully experience. People often underestimate how deeply energy impacts their sense of possibility. When you feel chronically drained, even small tasks seem heavy. But when your energy is stable, life expands, conversations feel richer, choices feel wider, stress becomes manageable, you move, think, and breathe differently. And that shift, though subtle at first, compounds over time. It shapes how you age. One of the most valuable insights from metabolic science is that long life is not about adding years at the end. It's about expanding life in the middle. It's about feeling younger for longer, not simply living longer. When your mitochondria are strong, when your cells repair efficiently, when inflammation stays low, your entire system maintains a youthful resilience. You recover faster, you think more clearly, you resist illness more effectively. The beauty of this transformation is that it requires no dramatic overhaul, just one strategic lifestyle shift, supporting stable, clean, long-lasting energy. This may come from prioritizing whole nutrient-dense foods, spacing meals to allow cellular recovery, reducing hidden sugars, improving sleep rhythms, or managing stress chemistry. Each of these feeds into the same biological truth. When your metabolic environment becomes calm and consistent, your cells respond with repair instead of deterioration. The body is not waiting for perfection. It is waiting for consistency. Even small daily metabolic improvements begin rewiring your internal biology. Over time, these shifts accumulate into a force powerful enough to slow aging itself. You don't feel it in dramatic bursts. You feel it in quiet victories, waking up with clarity, needing less caffeine, digesting more smoothly, handling stress more gracefully, feeling stronger during the day and calmer at night. These are signs that your internal engines are humming with efficiency instead of strain. And in these moments, life extends, not only in years, but in quality. That is the real gift hidden behind this one change, a gift that adds more days to your life and more life to your days. There comes a moment in life when you realize that longevity isn't determined by how many candles sit on your birthday cake, but by how well your body preserves the flame inside you. That inner flame, your vitality, your clarity, your resilience, does not fade randomly. It dims when the internal systems designed to protect you begin working against you. And the most powerful of these systems is the subtle, silent dialogue between your cells and the signals you give them every single day. When that communication becomes distorted, the body begins to age faster than time itself. But when the signals become clean, calm, and consistent, something extraordinary happens. Your biology becomes younger even as the years move forward. Inside every cell is a guardian, a microscopic caretaker that decides whether the cell should grow, repair, defend, or decline. These guardians respond to every choice you make: what you eat, how you move, when you rest, what you think, and how you breathe. They are constantly listening. And when the signals arriving at their door become chaotic, the cell enters a survival state. It becomes reactive instead of proactive. It protects instead of repairs. It shields instead of strengthens. Over time, this survival mode accelerates aging because the body becomes trapped in defense rather than restoration. But when you shift the environment those guardians live in, the entire story of your biology begins to change. One of the most powerful shifts is reducing silent inflammation, the hidden fire that slowly weakens tissues, damages DNA, and accelerates the wear on your organs. Most people imagine inflammation as an injury or swelling, but the most dangerous version is invisible. It smolders quietly, affecting your arteries, your brain, your joints, even your energy. It steals vitality without making noise, and yet it is one of the most reversible elements of aging.
With even small, consistent changes, the body begins extinguishing this internal fire.
The chemistry of your blood becomes calmer, the signals sent to your cells become clearer, your mitochondria, those engines of life, begin operating with less friction. This shift triggers something remarkable. Your body begins turning on repair pathways normally reserved for periods of deep rest or fasting. DNA begins correcting itself. Damaged proteins are cleared. Immune cells shift from attack mode to rejuvenation mode. These are quiet victories happening at a microscopic scale, but they transform your lifespan in ways you can feel. One of the most important actions you can take to support this rejuvenation is protecting your body from metabolic stress. The constant roller coaster of blood sugar spikes, inflammatory foods, and chaotic eating rhythms. When your metabolism swings violently, your cells are forced to adapt to instability rather than focus on repair. But when you introduce balance, when you create a rhythm that matches what your biology evolved to expect, your cells respond with gratitude. They begin investing energy into the long-term survival of your body instead of short-term crisis management. The result is not immediate, but it is profound. Your skin begins to reflect inner calm. Your mind becomes sharper. Your heart works with less strain. Your immune system becomes more intelligent, focusing on precision rather than overreaction. These are the biological foundations of a longer life, built not through extreme effort, but through consistent alignment with the body's natural design. Another element of extended vitality is stress chemistry. Stress is not merely a feeling, it is a hormone signal that instructs your cells to prioritize survival. In small amounts, it sharpens you, but when it becomes a daily companion, it slowly corrodes the internal architecture that keeps you young. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which quietly erodes memory, weakens immune function, fuels inflammation, and disrupts metabolic balance. But what's often missed is how deeply stress influences your biological age. People who carry stress for years often acquire the markers of aging long before time should have delivered them. Yet the solution isn't avoiding all stress. It's learning how to create micro moments of recovery that reset the nervous system. When you breathe deeply, move naturally, sleep consistently, or even take mindful pauses throughout the day, you send a message to your cells that the environment is safe. And when your body feels safe, it begins to repair. Longevity then is not just about lifestyle, it is about cultivating an internal world where the body is not constantly defending itself. Another crucial factor is the quality of your inner landscape, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotional patterns. Every emotion generates a biochemical response. Hope, gratitude, purpose, and joy release molecules that enhance immunity, strengthen cellular communication, improve neuroplasticity. Chronic fear, resentment, or hopelessness do the opposite. The mind and body are not separate, they are intertwined threads woven into the fabric of your lifespan. When you nurture a mindset that supports safety, possibility, and renewal, every cell listens. And perhaps the most underrated element of longevity is connection. Connection to people, to meaning, to growth, to something greater than daily routine. Humans who feel connected, supported, and valued produce lower inflammatory markers, stronger immune responses, and healthier genetic expression. Longevity is rarely found in isolation. It grows in environments where the heart feels anchored. The remarkable truth is that extending life doesn't require perfect discipline or rigid routines. It requires alignment with what strengthens you instead of what drains you. The body is constantly trying to guide you toward longevity through signals. More energy when you eat the right foods, deeper calm when you rest properly, sharper thinking when your metabolism is stable, stronger immunity when inflammation is low. The body is not silent. It is speaking every day, waiting for you to listen.